Hello, everyone. Let me check out and make certain we're live everywhere because it has been a technological nightmare this morning. Yes, I'm live on Periscope. I should be live on Facebook. Let me pull that up. Hopefully. Yes, I'm live on Facebook. Fantastic. And I should be live on YouTube. So, I'm a day and like an hour and a few minutes late. So let me make certain we're up on Twitter. We should be there. So today we are talking about amorphous solids. And I have a guest here today. Yes, I'm on there. Yay! All right. So this is very unorthodox with me being late like this, but that's okay. So today is amorphous solids. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let me pop up here. We got Andy with us from Science Sunday. Hey, Andy, he's up here on top.
Hey, how's it going?
Thank you for popping on at the last minute.
Hey,
So
thanks for having me on the show.
it's been pretty crazy. So amorphous solids won for this particular chat. Hey, guys. Hello, everyone. I got Andy from Sunday Science, who's usually on SciStrike's channel. Hey, Mark. Hey, Doc. Hello. Hi, Lavender Lady. So look at this nice spinning atom over here. You know, isn't it nice and mesmerizing? So we're talking about amorphous solids. You know how really hard it is to find like a nice, cool GIF image of an amorphous solid? Probably not that hard, but I ran out of time. So there you go. But I have Andy here because he's worked a lot with amorphous solids. And inorganic is not my favorite thing ever. That class made me like very upset and mad regularly. So, and the teacher that I had was not very nice either. He was actually kind of mean. Oh, wait, that's right. My mouse isn't working. Well, my external mouse is not working. So if you see me do that, it's going to be, I'm being weird then. So, hello. So today we're talking about amorphous solids. That's what won on the last poll. And so there's various different kinds of amorphous solids. So Andy, why don't you tell me a little bit about, first of all, what you do on your channel and a little bit about how you work with amorphous solids.
Okay, well, mostly on Sunday Science, we just grab whatever random fun topic that's happening in the world of science that we feel like talking about, and we hang out and we talk about it for a while.
Well, I've always enjoyed your show.
Well, I'm glad you like it, and it's always fun having me on the show, so thank you for having me on your show today.
Yay! Sometimes I have people on here that like know more than me about stuff, and so you know more about amorphous solids than I do. I'm like, well, if I go, I'm just gonna pull out all the old organic chemistry textbook stuff and just be like, here's what it looks like, crystalline structures. Here's an amorphous crystalline structure. These are examples of amorphous solids. These are examples of like regular solids that are not like amorphous, but completely symmetrical. So let's have
You just
Go
felt
for
like having someone hop on that decided they would talk about maybe cyclohexane, dimethanol, diglycerol ether.
Sure. Talk about that all you want, man. Go for it.
Oh, that's a stabilizing component. It's an amorphous solid. Well, starts in a liquid state but becomes an amorphous solid through a curing process. It's used as a stabilizing additive for cycloaliphatic epoxy resins.
Okay.
I do a lot of work with composites as well as with traditional construction materials.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to amorphous solids, you will definitely find that in the realm of epoxy resins. So
Mm-hmm.
everything from what I used to do full-time, well, what I used to do part-time out of my garage, manufacturing snowboards.
Oh,
Those
okay.
resins are used obviously quite regularly.
Right.
Um, Other good examples of where I work with amorphous solids on a regular basis is in machining engineered components and engineering those components as well. So most people will recognize amorphous thermoplastics as
Mm-hmm.
generally your clear plastics and polymers. So
Mm-hmm.
polycarbonate and acrylic, things of that nature. So
Okay.
those are all amorphous solids and used quite regularly in engineering.
Well, let's have a look about what this actually means with amorphous solids, because people are like, that's a new word. And, I see amorphous and I think Harry Potter stuff, like morphing into something else, and it's like a morphing that's gone wrong. And so instead of morphing like to a wolf, you're like half person and half wolf. That's what I think of with amorphous solids, but then I'm weird. So here is what we're talking about with amorphous solids. They're crystalline. They're like more organized. That wasn't supposed to go as quickly. Why is it just going in between these two? See, this is what goes on when you try to do something with OBS and you're like, oh my goodness. I want the time between slides, transition speed. I did the transition speed wrong. I did the wrong thing. 8 seconds there. I want 30 seconds there. Okay, let's try this again. So, amorphous solids essentially are ones that do not make really nice crystallized patterns. They end up being all kind of wonky and weird. They don't form into nice organized rows. Much like if you're ever a teacher and you're dealing with children, they're like amorphous solids. They don't sit in nice even rows. They don't follow the directions all the same. They're all bunched up and weird together. And so, with amorphous solids versus crystalline, amorphous are regular pattern of ions or molecules that have a varying range of melting points. There's no definite heat fusion. We have glass, but these are also called isotropic. Now, crystalline, they have regular repeating. They have a very sharp melting point, definite heat fusion. And so that would be like a diamond. So some other examples that we're looking at. So like salt, that's a crystalline structure. Candy, like cotton candy. And we're going to talk about how to make candy here. Well, candy is a good example of an amorphous solid. So when you're going through and making candy, it's really important to understand the different melting points and transitions, because if you cook candy too long, it's going to be too crystalline. If you don't cook it long enough, then it's not going to set up properly. So one way that we can kind of tell the difference between solids, you got your crystalline, was like a chocolate Hershey bar. That's a crystalline solid. Amorphous,
or a bowl of copper sulfate.
Or a bowl of copper sulfate. Amorphous solids would be like hard candy. And then you have soft polymeric solids like gummy bears. All right. So since Thanksgiving's coming up, we can talk about food. So here's the importance of temperature. So if you're making candy, an amorphous solid, you have to get it into very specific ranges. Fudge in particular is extremely important. If you cook it too long, it's going to be too hard and crystalline. If you don't cook it long enough, it's not going to set up properly. It's going to be too runny. You have to hit it within a certain amount. So ACS has a really cool slideshow based on how to get the perfect type of candy depending on what it is that you're making. So what do you think about that, Andy?
Oh, a glass transition temperature is very important when dealing with amorphous salt. It's much the same way outside of candy with engineering practices, when especially dealing with composites, when you're trying to get an epoxy to cure properly and you don't hit the right glass transition temperature, you will not have a product at all.
Yes.
You'll have a heap of goo. And I've done that before in the past, and it's not fun, especially when you have lots of carbon fiber involved in your build and your epoxy doesn't set right. It can just be disastrous.
Okay, so the epoxy. All right, so if it doesn't set properly, okay. So if you're heating it with your epoxy that you use, there's various different types. You can just go to a hardware store and just walk up and down the epoxy aisle and see anything from super weather resistant to, you have silicone, you have all kinds of different types of epoxy that, and we use this to like hold stuff together. I actually fixed my dishwasher with silicone caulk and the rubber weather strips that you put underneath the windows to stop the water, because I had a leak, and I used binder clips, like little black binder clips to hold it in place while it's set. It says you can set it after like a couple of hours, but I let mine sit for like 8.
Yeah.
Doesn't leak now.
I generally try and give 24 hours for a full cure on anything. But, fixing a dishwasher and making an Atom A700 jet aircraft are a little different.
That is a little different. I imagine you want that to set like ultra long. It's like if it's the set time is do this in 12 hours. Like, no, yeah, we're going to do 24.
Yeah, well, and those were also very large components that we were producing at the time. Granted, that company went under back in 2008 when I was working for them, but sitting down and building carbon fiber jet aircraft you get a different insight into how epoxy works and all of the messes you can get into. Mm-hmm. Most of the fibers that we used were pre-impregnated with resin, so you didn't have to worry about your mix ratios being off. But all of the tooling, all of the mold work that we made, all of that would be done with vinyl ester resin instead of epoxy resin. So,
okay, so what's the difference between those two resins? I'm curious.
With the exact science and the exact chemistry behind it, I'm not 100% sure.
Well, the melting points and stuff, I imagine, would probably be different. You got vinyl in one, and then you said the other one was just resin? What kind of resin?
It's a cycloaliphatic epoxy. So it's an organic base as opposed to an inorganic base resin. It's hydrocarbon chain as opposed to whatever, vinyl esters.
Okay.
As well. But a lot of their properties are different as far as cure time, cure temperature, process time, things like that. And there's such a wide variety of different sorts of resins that are used in composite structures. I am not necessarily an expert in them, but I have worked with them quite a bit.
Okay. So you have to tell me a story when an amorphous solid completely just messed up your day.
Well, there's actually a video on my YouTube channel of when this happened, and anybody that watches Sunday Science, you probably know that I like tinkering and building weird things like the Tesla coil behind me and telescopes and things of that nature. And I was doing the optical tube for a large 6-inch f/15 refractor telescope, and making the primary optical tube assembly was a carbon fiber layup. And the media that I used, which also happened to be an amorphous solid, the plastic wrapping that goes around it, that's a heat shrink material, it decided while I was taking a heat gun to the entire thing that it was going to blister in certain areas, and it was bad. I mean, the video's up. You can't see any of the problems that wound up taking place, but normally with a carbon fiber layup, you're going to have a nice, smooth, consistent finish when you're done. You really don't have to do a whole lot. There might be a couple of small pits here and there that you have to fill, which oftentimes we'll use vinyl ester resin for that as kind of a gel coat. But with all of the blistering that happened, the wrapping didn't stay tight on the form tube, and it turned into about 3 weeks of hand finishing to try and grind blisters of carbon fiber down. And if you've ever tried to sand carbon,
carbon is like charcoal. Was it like a charcoal type of consistency?
Ow.
As he just pulls random carbon out from behind.
Yeah, so I used to have random slabs of carbon fiber cloth. So.
Oh, okay.
You can imagine once this is completely coated in epoxy and it's cured and it's turned into an actual homogeneous material, trying to grind it is an absolute nightmare.
It sounds like an absolute nightmare.
And you get tiny little fibers skewering your hands and getting everywhere. It's messy, it's dirty, it's no fun when you mess up a carbon fiber layup.
That sounds pretty nasty and icky and gross. I don't know. My only experience with amorphous solids outside of working with plastics and 3D printing and possibly silicone, but silicone, I don't know. I don't know what its crystalline structure is in liquid form and then it dries. I'm not entirely certain that it's amorphous.
I think silicone's polycrystalline.
Yeah. So, but my only experience outside of that is just making candy. And making candy, when you're trying to get it, as I mentioned before, it has to be very highly specific temperatures or everything just goes wrong. I mean, it's just, you know, and I used to, like, since the holidays are coming up, I used to make lots and lots of candy for, like, family members, especially when I was in school and I was really broke. But I don't think people realize, you know, candy making can get a little bit expensive. But I would do this with, like, another family member. And so we'd go in together with the cost and we'd spend an entire day just making various types of chocolates and fudge and stuff like that. You had to have a very accurate candy thermometer because if your candy thermometer sucked and you overcooked it or undercooked it, it was just messed up. You wouldn't get the nice sheen on the outside with the chocolate, or you would get like really brittle fudge. Nobody likes brittle fudge. Nobody likes that. You know, it just sucks. So, and if you mess up a batch, that's like a lot of time. And so one thing that we would do because when I was growing up, we didn't have a candy thermometer. There's lots of buffering on YouTube. Sad. That sucks. But if we didn't have a candy thermometer, we would have to just go with consistency. And so you would just have to know when it was done cooking in the pot, and you would get a little bit when you're making like peanut butter fudge. You'd get a little bit and you'd scoop it out and you'd stick it in a cup of cold water and try to form it into a ball. And if it was like forming into a ball and right in the right consistency, then you would take it off the heat and then you would pour it into the pan and put little swirls in it or whatever you were doing, and then you would allow it to cool and it would be fine. So if we didn't have a candy thermometer, we would have to sit there and eyeball it to make certain it hit the right state, the right phase. Hello, everyone. And if it didn't hit like the right phase, then it was like that whole entire day of candy making was just gone, you know? So it's just, yeah, it just sucks that way. So that's my experience with amorphous solids. But, you know, it's like glass blowers. Glass blowers do lots of really cool things, and they take advantage of the lack of the crystalline structure in order to make the different shapes that they do. But heat is exceedingly important in that regard.
It absolutely is. Working temperatures with amorphous solids is very critical.
So have you had a chance to work with glass before?
I have not personally worked with glass. I did I was looking at getting a job with a scientific glass blowing company here in Colorado, and most of that work would actually be most of it would have been machining synthetic quartz cells and chambers for physicists for their experiments.
Okay, so synthetic quartz, okay, so I've used quartz when I was working with like a UV vis spec.
Yeah. Yeah, so it would have been producing a lot of those components.
Hello, everyone. Are salt domes considered amorphous? Huh.
Well, salts themselves are crystalline, so...
Yes. So I guess this buffering is aging me at hyperspeed. That's horrible. I've got it on. I don't have anything else running on my computer at all except for this. So this kind of sucks if there's like heavy buffering going on, and I don't know how to fix that. Ick on the buffering.
This is what I'm talking about. Just picking up that piece of carbon fiber. I'm covered in this stuff now.
You are covered in carbon fiber. There is so much science in cooking. So Mark was talking about how cooking is, you wouldn't think about that. You're mostly looking at still screen. Gosh, the buffering is terrible. Why is the buffering so bad? This is literally the only thing I'm running on my computer right now. Let me take this GIF image off. Let me take this GIF image off and see if that helps with it at all. And see if that changes with the buffering, because we don't really need it up there. Maybe it won't be so heavy on any memory, and maybe I can sort it out that way. And we'll just make your chat bigger. There we go. So yeah, there's so much cooking in there's so much chemistry and temperature associated with cooking that you really wouldn't think that it would be so complicated, but it actually can be quite complicated, especially when you get into caramelizing things. So if you were to make caramel, oh my God, do you know how hard it is to make caramel? Oh my goodness, making caramel without burning it, without it being too crunchy, it's really hard. You have to have the right amount of milk, butter, and sugar, and then you cook it down, and then that brown you're literally just converting sugar from one state into its like caramelized state to where it's mixed with butter and milk, and it's a pain in the butt. It really, really is. People are like, "Oh, let's have caramel apples." I'm like, no. I'll just buy them already made at the store. I'll have my people make it for me and go pick it up at the local grocery store. I don't want to have to make sheets of caramel. Let's make it from scratch. Always the best intentions. But when you're trying to make fudge or caramel or all these complicated type of candies from scratch, I don't think people realize how labor intensive it is.
It can be, lots of cooking can be very labor intensive. I have the same problem anytime that I make anything where I need a good row. It's you just pull up a stool and sit there for the next 2 hours. You'll do it right.
Oh my gosh. It's just, and you have to set timers. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to make this caramel," and then you walk away for 5 minutes. No. It can be done. It's just like, oh God. I get a little stressed out thinking about it. This is why I quit making candy at Christmas time. I'm like, no. I don't want the stress. It is so stressful. People are like,
that glass transition temperature.
Yes.
A very small working window once you get there.
And making hard candy like rock candy and stuff like that. So if you're trying to make lozenges, people are like, "Oh wow, it's, the cold and flu season. I'm going to make homemade lozenges." You're like, yeah, go have fun with that. Whatever, you heat up all of this stuff and you add the honey and then you add the sugar, and you have to get it to the right temperature for a certain period of time, or it's just gone. That's amorphous solids. It's pains in the ass, man. And sometimes if you have anything else mixed in with your sugar or whatever it's you got, sometimes you have to go buy specifically like candy making types of sugar because there's other stuff in there that's going to affect its melting point. And so then you're like, why is this not working? Why is this not working? And all of a sudden it's all messed up. And I think my computer just froze. What the heck is going on?
Good question.
Yeah. OBS is crashing on me a little bit there. I think we're back now. OBS is getting on my nerves regularly. I have to say that. It really, really is. And if I had some other way, I think I'm going to start investigating another streaming service, if at all possible, at least software. And then, because I've already got Restream, and I know they work just fine. So I just have to stream to that platform, and then it takes care of the rest. But
yeah,
I need to investigate some other streaming software. So that's next on the list after I get a new camera. And so, speaking of which, I am going to invest, guys, in a new camera for shooting outside of this venue. I have a green screen, so I might do little short mini videos just for informational purposes, like little 5 to 10 minute videos, nothing heavy. Kind of like what I do with Monty and Hannibal's show. I always do like a little 5-minute thing for them, and people seem to be receptive to that. So I thought maybe I could do like a little 5 to 10 minute little science little snippet. Here you go. Here's the thing about this. Enjoy and see how that goes. And then I can edit it properly. Because I kind of miss film editing a little bit. That's kind of fun. But I can't really do that on OBS. This is mostly for, informational and talking and interactive purposes. But yeah, that's an aside. You've never tried making caramel. Oh my goodness. If you've never tried making caramel, be prepared for a good, solid life lesson. Fudge, too. There's a reason why fudge is so freaking expensive, especially if you go to county fairs. It is so hard to make. Oh, you used to be pretty good at fudge? You need to send me some. Send me some fudge. I like the peanut butter and chocolate mixed together. That's really good. I've had maple and pecan. Oh my God, that was really good. But don't send me a lot of fudge because I'm trying really hard to not eat my weight in fudge. I don't want to be a fudge monster. It is a labor of love. I don't think people realize that. One time I tried to make candied apples, okay? Candied apples are the devil. Another amorphous solid. It makes that little crystalline glass outside. You know, that glass sugary coating. Oh my God. That's so hard. You absolutely have to have an accurate candy thermometer. You just have to. There's no way to eyeball that. Not unless you're like a professional, candy maker. Then you might feel like, oh, this candy, when it looks like this, it's done. If you don't do it like every day for like 10 years, you need an accurate candy thermometer. That's the truth. Oh, goodness. And cotton candy is an amorphous solid. Rock candy is silly easy compared to lozenges. It is! You literally dip the stick in like sugar and you let it sit there, right? And then you pull it out. It's almost like a it's not like a lollipop. It's like almost like a popsicle, right? You just pour sugar on the top and let it, But that's just straight up sugar, though. And sugar is crystalline. Sugar by itself makes a crystalline structure. That's why rock candy looks like squares on everything, because that's its crystalline structure. Amorphous is just.
Random.
Yeah.
Totally random.
What do you think about the infrared thermometers? I don't know. I haven't used those for cooking. I've just used the standard like metal with the little arrows on the top. Meat thermometers and candy thermometers.
I use infrared thermometers quite a bit. I love them. Absolutely love them.
You like infrared? Do you use it for cooking, though?
I know I usually am using that for work.
Ah, okay. So infrared, well, but see, okay, so when you're like working with a drill or something like that, do you use like the infrared thermometers to make certain that it's not getting too hot? And that's where you got your like drilling fluid coming in? I'm trying to understand.
No, most of the time I'll be using it for monitoring electronics that are actually running machines, making sure that they're not
Oh.
getting to any sort of an over voltage state or things of that nature. Because
Okay. Well, that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, when it comes to actually cutting, there, well, I mean, you've seen some of the stuff that I do, and it's
Hmm.
you're actually producing a tremendous amount of heat in a lot of machining operations, but that's leaving the component in the form of the chip that you're cutting off. So then you wind up with a bunch of blue hot steel sticking to your arm and burning the crap out of you.
Oh my goodness. That sucks.
Part of the job.
Vibrantly says, why does everyone think they need a freaking green screen? I like things looking real. You know, I asked my viewers about that, and I've got like my background here, like with all my collectibles and stuff. And, you know, the general consensus is that nobody wants me to put a green screen behind me. They
No,
like my little figures and stuff.
no green screen.
No green screen for that. Maybe a green screen for something else, but, you know. At least it's been pausing in flattering poses. Okay, so maybe I should do this. And let it freeze on that for a minute. You know, just be like, what's she talking about? My face is now an amorphous solid. It's not behaving.
Oh my god.
Used to be a something on the order of 15 years ago. Oh my goodness. Ah, so amorphous solids are pretty cool. We use them every day in plastics. We use them in glass. Glass is considered what, like a hypercooled liquid? Is that
Basically.
what? Basically, it's a hypercooled liquid. It's still kind of liquid, but even though it's in a solid state, it's just freaking cooled really rapidly. You know, I think something else that, you know, one of the people that, the person that actually suggested the topic, and I threw it in the poll, he was just blown away by like hypercooled liquid idea. But what I think people don't understand is that it can get way cooler than that. There's something called the triple point. Andy, do you know about the triple point?
I do.
Tell me about the triple point.
No. This is your show. You get to talk about that.
Yeah, but you're a gas.
I don't have any information on hand. I can't pull everything out of my head.
Okay. Well, let me pull triple point out of my head. Triple point. Okay, you've heard of melting point. You've heard of freezing point. You've heard of boiling point, condensing point. The triple point is where you have all three forms of liquid, gas, and solid existing at the same time at the same temperature. That's the triple point. So you can have liquid, solid, and gas all existing at the same time at a particular temperature, which is actually pretty cool. So, so that's essentially the triple point, and it's different for different compounds in different elements. So, the triple point is essentially that. So, even though we can super cool liquids and get them to be stuck in that state with amorphous solids, we also have things like the triple point where all three phases can exist at the same time, which is also really cool. I also really like sublimation, where you're converting a solid straight to a gas and you skip liquid altogether. That's always kind of fun. Carbon dioxide.
Yeah, who doesn't like playing with dry ice?
Dry ice is awesome. You know, you just toss it right in the water and it just completely converts from a solid state to a gaseous state because the fact that it's a gas at room temperature. And so, you know, if it's like super freaking cold and you drop it into like room temperature water, it just goes There's like no liquid phase whatsoever. It's the temperature to where you can have that happen, which is way fun. So that's why we like dry ice so much. Love playing with states of matter. It's so neat. I should get dry ice sometime and just show them the show. And today we're just going to talk about dry ice. There, wasn't that fun, guys? Let's do that some more. Now we're just going to blow it all over the place. It just looks so cool. So when I was in grad school, we would always order antibodies and stuff for our tests. And so they'd come in and like dry ice, you know, it's super freaking cold and keeps everything frozen. So we would get our little itty bitty little vials of antibodies. They'd be like that tall and like teeny tiny little, you know, container in this giant box of dry ice. And we'd take the antibodies out. We'd be like, okay, yay. We'd stick them in the freezer. And then we'd take the dry ice and just start dropping it into like the laboratory sinks. It was just so cool because you're in a lab and you got all this smoke rippling out. It just looked like a mad scientist lab. That's what we did for fun.
That is freaking cool. So I'm cyclohexane at the triple point. It's really cool.
Oh, let me see if I can get that video really quickly before let me see if I can pull up that video and see if I can download it really quickly and you can watch cyclohexane at its triple point, if that will load. And this might be a drain. Cyclohexane triple point. Sometimes you just do stuff on the fly on a live streaming show.
You know, sometimes you have to.
It just, you know, for science, of course. All right. Was it a 1 minute video or how long was the video?
1 minute.
It was just a 1 minute video. I think I found it here. So let
Yep, 1 minute and 1 second. That's the one.
Okay. Yep. I'm going to copy this link. Wait, no, I don't want a freaking emoji. I want to copy the link. Let me see if I can get this. Alrighty. So what I'll do, I'm going to, you know, yeah, because that would be a strain. It's a strain on stuff. So please, bear through the buffering as I go and do this thing here really quickly. We'll get it someday. I don't need a big one. 360p is fine. We don't need anything super huge.
Right.
Someday. I think you guys can probably hear that, so I'm going to just download this really quickly. There we go. Open in folder. Show in folder. So I'm going to fix this up really quickly and see what I can do. Where is it? I had it and then it was gone. Open, show in folder. All right. Let me see. Everything is hard. All right.
It's just a bad tech day.
It is a bad tech day. It really, really is. Say what? And there's like something in the corner and it's not responding and it's covering up your face. There we go. Isn't that nice? All right. I'm going to add a video here. I'm just going to add it right here. And we'll just do it this way. Media source. Triple point. Let's see. Sorry about that. Oh my God, really? Someday this will work. In the meantime, browse. Doing things on the fly is really hard, guys. I don't think you know that. Oh, God. Here we go. Where is it? Where the heck is it? I just downloaded this thing. 41. Alright, here we go. Okay. Alright, guys. I'm clicking OK. So here is the triple point. For cyclohexane, where you have the gas, the liquid, and the solid all existing at the same time. Look at that. So it can transition from a solid, from a liquid to a solid, and then to the gas.
It's the whole thing. Just gone, oh.
Yes,
Really
pressure.
so cool.
Yep, so they all exist at the same time. Solid, liquid, and gas all showing up for the party.
I was about to say,
And it's a very specific temperature where you have it all there. It's like a confused state. It's like, am I a solid? Am I a liquid? Am I a gas? What am I today?
Oh my God.
So it's like it can't make up its mind. So you're like, okay. Which is kind of cool. You know, it's just like a very confused compound. Oh, goodness. Very confused compound. Am I a solid today? Am I a liquid today? Am I a gas today? I'm feeling all three. I think that sounds like people, too. That would be... On any given day at my job, I can be like super happy. I can be like super freaking mean and be like, what are you doing? Or, you know, not mean, but like, you know, like extremely assertive. You know, trying not to be Samuel L. Jackson. Say what again? You know, and then I go back to the code. Okay. Now for something completely different, and then I move to something else. I kind of feel like I'm on any given day at my job, I'm a triple point. So it's just like, goodness. So what's going on in the chat? We got all kinds of questions.
Oh,
let's see. Okay. So something's going on with the pyramids. We're talking about pyramids or something. I'm trying to sort it out. All right, so we've got people talking about something related to the pyramid. Okay. I'm trying to find all of the questions. All right, so let me scroll back. You check the equipment with thermometer and mess with each other using the laser. Oh, boy. So window glass is a liquid with viscosity through the roof. I don't understand that. Window glass is a liquid with viscosity through the roof. So the viscosity is really high. Is that what you mean? We could pull everything out of your head, though, through your nose. It would be much fun, though. That's what they did in ancient Egypt, right? That's how they preserved the dead. And pressure does play a role. You're right, with the phases. We use the triple point of materials to calibrate temperature measurement devices, the good ones. The same substance in three states at once. Yes. How cool is that? They put the stained glass windows, they put the thicker glass towards the bottom, so people hypothesized that it was flowing. Huh. Yeah, like a pyramid, of course, they made the glass thicker at the bottom. Okay, you're wrong. I don't know what's going on. Alright, I've heard the glass is a fluid thing is a myth, too. Well, it's more like a super cooled liquid. That's all that is. It's a super cooled liquid, but it is an amorphous solid, which makes it really fun to kind of play around with, you know? It's super fun to play around with because you're able to do it, and glass blowers take advantage of the amorphous characteristics of glass in order to make the really cool designs that they do. So, oh goodness.
There's a lot of fun stuff in manufacturing with amorphous solids, doing thermoforming for producing parts that you're not able to do with polycrystalline materials or crystalline materials. You have to use amorphous materials for a lot of these.
So thermoforming being making actual parts based on melting it in like almost like a mold.
You bring the material to its glass transition temperature, so it's not molten, but it's not solid either.
Okay.
It's at that transitional point, and then you use vacuum or generally vacuum is the easiest way to form that component into a die.
Ah, okay. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And the die is the mold then?
Yeah, a die is something that you would use to form it. If you're molding something, you're generally injecting material. If you have a die, then you're generally forming material onto a die.
Okay. Lavender Lady asks, is the video the one with cyclohexane alternately freezing and boiling near the triple point? Yes. That's what that was. It couldn't make up its mind between which one to go with. So that's what you can do. You play around with temperatures.
Temperature and pressure.
Temperature and pressure. PV-nRT, right? Ideal gas law. You increase the temperature, you increase the pressure. Also, if you increase the pressure, you push a gas to move towards the liquid and solid state. You move the molecules closer together, they're more likely to stick, right?
Yeah.
Stick to each other into their little states of matter. So.
Indeed.
Yeah. Goodness. So, are you going to do Sunday Science later on today, Andy?
There's a very good chance.
There's a good chance? Okay. I'll probably hop on over there if you want me. If you want me on there.
That'd be awesome.
Sunday Science is fun.
Sunday Science is fun.
Are we talking about the animals?
Yes, it is Stephen's birthday episode, so that was a planned discussion.
Oh boy. Tell them about what your show's going to be about today.
Okay, so one of our friends, Stephen Bauman, his birthday is tomorrow, so happy birthday, Stephen.
Yay!
And he's getting a birthday episode that is all about how animals procreate and how we come into this world.
Yes. Let's see. Yeah, so is it based on, because I think my duck episode where I had the duck sex video, that was Duck Theater. Duck Theater was pretty funny. Let's see.
Yeah, Duck Theater was pretty funny. And there are some very interesting other ones, such as dragonflies and all sorts of fun stuff. So. Oh,
gosh, yes. All right. So I'm going to share in the chat. I'm going to copy the link. So I'm going to hop over on the YouTube chat and post a link to your channel.
Remember, it's still running on SciStrike's channel. So
yes. So please do hop over there later on today, and I've posted it there for you to check out. So please do go and like, share, subscribe, not only for me, but also for SciStrike. He has his movie nights, which I can't hang, man. I can't hang on movie nights. You guys just are party dogs.
Movie night can be pretty rough.
And so do hop over onto SciStrike, subscribe, and you can join us for Sunday Science. It's Andy, it's Cy, and it's Steven, and myself from time to time. I'll pop on there, and we're going to talk about all the ways that animals reproduce through what they say, green porno theater. We're going to watch some of those videos and critique them. So,
yeah.
Like the one I showed on my duck episode, which was strange. Isabella Rossellini. You're welcome, Mark. You're welcome. So, yeah, I know this was Sunday for me. I normally do my show on Saturdays, but today, I was going to have it today, so that's all right.
Nothing wrong with being a day late sometimes.
Nothing wrong with that. So, I'll probably take this Saturday. I'll be taking this. I think I'll probably take this Saturday off because the holiday, and next Saturday off because have some people coming into town. So I'm going to spend some time with them. So the next 2 Saturdays I have off, but I'll be back the beginning, first weekend in well, not first weekend in December, second weekend in December with a new episode of The Science of. In the meantime, I've got This Week in BS. We're finishing up the intro. I have a band that is run by a friend of mine. It's Craig Versus. That's their band. And they're out of Leeds. And right now they're making my theme song in a studio. He just sent me the video. So he's making a theme song for me for my This Week in BS with Katie Paulson from Pathios. We're getting that. It's taken some time, but we'll have different segments on there about the latest and greatest in bad science. And then we'll talk about homeopathy and stupid things celebrities do that are really dumb and have no scientific background, because that's just